am. Thank you very much.
Make sure you use your mics tonight, because that's the best way for her to hear you.
I heard her.
Thank you. I like the protection.
Although, are we starting your live streaming yet? Because I don't have anything there.
Yes, it's live. We're on this.
Yes.
We hear you, but you don't hear us. Is that the problem?
No, I hear you. I just can't see you.
Okay.
Awesome. So
There's
we're gonna,
nothing to see.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Tonight's meeting, I'll be calling to order our open session for the school board meeting today on Tuesday, June 18, 2024 at 6:04. And we have Jackie that's going to be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Jackie. And I think you're going to take the podium to share a little bit about the Communities in Schools presentation. So I'll let you go ahead and take that away.
Is this for the board next year?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Talavera, school board members, executive cabinet, Superintendent Dr. Pleca, and all families present and listening. This evening, program specialist Jackie Gallardo-Hoffmaster and myself, Erlinda Soltero-Rees, will be celebrating with you the accomplishments of the year 2 of the Community Schools Implementation Grant. And please, I apologize for my voice right now. Still trying to get over whatever it is that's there. So this is our vision statement from the original application, and it's reflective upon year 1 and how to move the work forward. So we started off with this vision, and we're going to take a look at it again once we start working with our new cohort that we have introduced. So we'll be looking into that. Our 6 schools that participated in this first cohort are Commonwealth, Maple, Nicholas, Richmond, Valencia Park, and Woodcrest. So these are the initial framework topics within the original pillars of the Community Schools Grant, and they are related to integrating support services, collaborative leadership practices, active family community involvement, and expanding learning. These are areas we have implemented with staffing and the layering of support services at our participating school sites. As we move forward with the community schools, now the focus will be on these 5 capacity building strategies for the community schools. The shared commitment works along the lines of aligning our district, board, and LCAP goals to address our student needs. Centering community-centered learning. This would involve in honoring our students' narratives in their actual learning, so getting into the classrooms a bit more. Collaborative leadership and practices. This involves the district-wide steering committee and launching a school site-based community schools advisory group. So each school has to have an advisory group now attached to its community schools. And then sustaining staffing and resources. We have a team of 10 that has worked diligently, and they're looking at future funding. We're looking at future funding opportunities to see how we can keep the staffing and programming within our districts. It's all involving the sustaining of the programs. The strategic community partnerships, now that we have completed our needs assessment, connecting with specific support services and resources, we're tailoring everything to those needs that our communities have. Now, our Nicholas Community Center has been there for now 2 years. It is a space, If you have not been there, a biophilic well space, all these services are available to our community. One thing that we did add was extended hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4:30 to 5:30 because we saw that need where parents were coming in after and asking for the assistant after school hours. So we wanted to make sure to have that available for our families as well. And the space is available for our Nicholas students during nutrition and lunchtime. And they come in and they use it and they truly enjoy it. Jackie's going to take us through services that we have offered for our families and our students, and we'll be going over all the statistics that we have gathered for you.
Erlinda,
Yes.
could you tell me, you said that the students come in during the day and they use it. Could you give me a couple examples of how they use it?
They'll come in either for counseling services or for recently when we were dispersing their glasses, they would come in to get their glasses during that opportunity. If not, they come in, they feel a safe space where they go and they just relax and enjoy the calmness and the environment where during school they're stressing or they're running around, and this is just an opportunity for them to just sit and enjoy the space.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, and it's so popular that we had to put a cap on how many students could join us because we had lines of about 25 students coming to the center. So I think it just speaks to the volumes of having a safe space on campus where our students could come to access the support services. So we're really glad that the students are being able to take advantage of the space at Nicholas. We wanted to share with you that we have our team of 10, and we have a couple here in the audience today that has been so kind to come during their summer break to support our program. So we have a team of 10 FSD staff. We have a specialized and trained mental health staff equipped to deal with our students and families in need. We have 3 credentialed school counselors. We have 3 social service assistants. We have 1 school nurse, 1 community liaison, 1 clerk 2, and a program specialist. So combined, we are your community schools team that is available. This year, we really worked on getting out to the community so our families knew how we could provide support. So we created this bilingual flyer here to match our biophilic and natural element design to kind of share with our families how they could access us and what our different support services we offer in terms of health, well-being, counseling, and parenting classes. With this flyer, we created a QR code and a bit.ly for us to be able to gauge what are the needs that our FSD families are in need of, that are barriers perhaps in the learning environment. So we wanted to share with you a snapshot. I know this is a lot, but I would like to just draw your attention to the total amount of requests received. Any family, students, staff, community members could refer for requests for assistance on behalf of our community schools team. And you'll see the different areas of what the requests were asked for in a variety of needs from TK through 8th grade, and then also amongst our 6 participating school sites. But we also had families from other FSD school sites that asked for assistance. And the top 3 areas of requests were addressing academic, attendance, social emotional needs, mental health, and physical health. So this was a way that our team could triage need and response to connect that family and students with the service. Next, we wanted to share with you a little bit about the health partnerships we've been able to roll out this school year. So we were super excited to launch a Vision to Learn as a community partnership. And this is a mobile health clinic that comes on campus and provides vision, access, and health screening, and the addition of eye exams. And if students qualified, they get their prescriptive lenses. We are super excited that our school nurse, Rosalind, took the charge within 6 schools to orchestrate this monster planning, and we were successfully able to take, if not 2 or 3 mobile units to 6 of our campuses this past spring to have students all screened, and then follow up with an eye exam, and then also follow up with vision fitting and selection of glasses. A third of our students on campus were eligible for glasses to receive these services. We had 35% on each of our 6 campuses that had failed the vision screening. And so that 30% of students on each of our 6 school campuses received their glasses. And it was the neatest thing to see these kiddos come onto the van, choose their glasses, pink, clear frames. I think the junior high vibe was the clear frames. They were very popular. And then also get the education about how to use the glasses, how to care for them. And these glasses will have coverage of insurance for 1 year. So within the upcoming school year, if any of our students broke or scratched their glasses, we're able to connect the family so that they could get a replacement for those glasses. So this has been very great to see, because we know sometimes our kiddos, the barrier to learning could be that health access, and being able to bring the vision on campus. We had some students that said, oh my gosh, I can see the board now, or oh, my friend always looked blurry, and is this normal? We're like, no, this is good. We're just, it's going to take 3 weeks of the glasses, and it was just really neat, as you'll see later in our presentation, to see the students being able to access their vision in a clear, crisp lens.
Jackie,
yes.
Sorry, real quick. Was this grade specific for this?
We did kindergarten through 8th grade. Yes. And because and TK as well. Yes. And I know our preschoolers has a different partnership, but we're able to include TK as well.
As I'm looking at it, the total, I don't know if it was said because the charts are hard to read, but 668 pairs of glasses that were given to our students. 668 kids that can now see better. That's amazing.
Yes,
That's wonderful.
yes, it was a definite silver lining to see all the
Thank
kiddos
you.
on campus with their little cases, and it said a sticker 50% or 100% of the usage of their glasses. So, yes, it was really exciting.
I wanted to give one shout out. When I was over there, we were talking about where the money comes from, and there are, I believe, 5 teams, professional sports teams, that will give money to this foundation. And the one that funded our glasses, at least the ones at Maple, were the Clippers. So I'd like to give a shout out of thanks to the Clippers for donating the money so that our wonderful students can now see the board, see his friend across the room, and enjoy life on a higher level.
Yes, that's the power of the community partnerships, definitely, absolutely. Another health service provider we were able to roll out this year was a Big Smiles Dental Mobile Clinic, and we rolled this out specifically as a pilot at Commonwealth Elementary, and there was a dental team that came on campus and was able to provide service of oral exam, cleaning, fluorides, x-rays, and education about oral health. We had a total of 16 students on campus come visit a classroom on campus that got totally converted into a dental office, free of charge for our students and families who were participating with big smiles. And it just was great to see our team come into action to support this. Also the support of Principal Sumi, being able to offer the support for our families, whether they had insurance or not, or that connection with insurance. And this is a goal we'd like to expand for next year, to be able to offer this mobile access of dental hygiene on campus. So we will be continuing this partnership next year with hopefully more of our school sites. In addition, we were able to also roll out our Vax to School mobile clinic, which was on campus, most recently at Nicholas Junior High. We had a total of 32 families sign up to provide the vaccinations that were pending for our incoming students. And so it just really shows the accessibility to provide the service on campus, to really reduce the barriers for our students to be able to access their learning, so that they're not missing school to go to an appointment, to be able to access that appointment during the school day. So that's really the beauty of all these services, that we're able to bring them on campus, so our students wouldn't be missing instructional time for these services, and again, free of charge, all these services. Another partnership we were happy to onboard this year was the Community Health Initiative of Orange County, and we were able to connect 68 families with health insurance enrollment benefits for Medi-Cal, CalFresh, CalWorks, Covered California, and General Relief. And we had representatives come on campus to our Nicholas Community Center to actually sign the families up on site. So our community center served as a hub space to be able to connect our families, bring your documents, and get them connected to services as soon as possible. And this will be a continuing partnership for next year, so our school sites know they have this accessibility at their school sites. And then we wanted to highlight Fullerton Express Pharmacy, as that's a local pharmacy partner here in Fullerton. We're able to connect 21 requests for our families in need of health and hygiene to provide the education and access to health care for the students to feel better in order to not miss school and come and access their learning.
With all of these wonderful programs, I'm so impressed by you guys. All of the people you got to connect with us and give their time. Some of them were as few as 16 kids, and others were larger. How were these children selected? Was it self-selection? Their parents came in and signed them up? Were we limited?
So not limited. We created like a bit.ly and a flyer to advertise to the communities, and we had our families sign up. We also used our community schools team to outreach to families we knew that might be in the need of services, but also we wanted to sign up as many families as we could. And really with these partnerships, there is no cap. It's just the coordination of getting them signed up, coordinated, and connecting with their insurance provider to make sure they had access. And if they didn't have health insurance access, we were able to connect them to get enrolled.
Well, hats off to you guys, really.
Thank you, thank you. So now we're going to move a little bit into our integrated support services, which is our team services, what we're able to provide. So in the area of parenting classes, as you see, we were able to offer several opportunities for our parents to have knowledge and feel connected with their learning with their child. So we started with Poder with Chalk, which is an educational program that provides healthy topics and lifestyles for our families to learn about diabetes awareness and prevention. And we had 54 parents participate in our Chalk classes in partnership. We also had our community liaison facilitate the 10 educational essentials and school smarts to have our families learn about transition from elementary to junior high, also A through G requirements, college requirements, and then we were also able to host 6 workshops with Care Solace as our community partner to address mental health. So families learned what are warning signs in children and family members if they're struggling with mental health and how they can get help and connected here at the district, and also navigating mental health in our family and grief and loss during the holidays. So this was just a different opportunity for us to offer both the mental health component to our families, but also the physical health and also how to get engaged with the school learning in the different learning programs we offer at our 6 school sites. So now we're going to move a little bit to our continued partnership with Care Solace, and we just wanted to share again a snapshot, even though I know this is a lot of numbers, but we wanted to show you just the need we've seen at our schools. And this is a data management system that we use that's called Care Solace Loop Plus, where our team is able to log interventions or direct services. And the highlight here is that we had 3,287 services logged from our school nurse, our clerk, our school counselor, and our social service assistants. And the top 3 areas for need were health, social emotional needs, and family outreach and contacts. So just kind of shares with you a little bit of that direct service and the time that we've given to really provide that support for our FSD families. And then when it comes to our direct school counseling and our social service assistants, what we wanted to highlight here is just having that direct staff available at the school site to address students in crisis and connect them with the counseling needs. And so we're able to have 146 students in individual short-term counseling with our school counselors, and they helped 44 students that were in crisis to establish safety and general well-being. And then with our social service assistants, we had 1,617 calls and in-person meetings for our needs assessment, phone banking, and outreach. And I just think it speaks to the trust and the rapport that our team was available to provide in person, that physical connection, so the families see a friendly face on campus and they're able to come and let us know what's going on so we can provide that support for them. So next slide is our Daybreak Health, and I apologize, got a little bit cut off on the top, but this is another community partnership we have that provides teletherapy for our students and families, and we're super proud to share that we had 77 referrals within our 6 school sites completed that covered 12 counseling sessions. We had 2 models of support. We had individual counseling for students ages 10 and up, and then we had a family therapy counseling program that addressed students as young as 5 and up. And so as you see here, again, the 3 top areas of need for our families was students dealing with feelings of sadness, anger management, and stress or worry. And so just again, speaking to that need of the whole child needs and how we're able to provide these partnerships and support services to help our students so they have the support, the coping skills, so they can come to school, they can feel ready to learn, but they also know they have that safe person to speak with.
Now, are these people, these students who came to anger management, are they self-referred, family referred, or school referred?
These can be a combination of all of those. This service we have in a flyer, we advertise to the school sites. Some referrals have been self-referred from students. Some parents came with concerns, and then also working with the school site teams where maybe they've seen a need or a change in, Jackie's behavior. They notice something might be different. They'd like to connect them with the resource. So we've been able to address self-referrals, family referrals, and staff referrals as well.
Great.
So we see all the great numbers, but oftentimes I think we need to take a step and really see if we're making that true impact. So after 12 sessions that our students have had with the teletherapy, they were asked a question. And this is when you know that we're headed in the right direction, we're doing what we can, we're helping when we can, and making this available for our students any which way we can. So the teletherapy services asked our students one question. If you had a magic wand, what would you do? What would you make disappear? What would you make stop? Some of these answers that the students answered were truly very personal, but because they felt comfortable enough, they were able to answer the question. If I had a magic wand, I would want to be less angry. I would want to change the way I am, my face, my body, and all of the insecurity. If I had a wand, I would not be getting into fights. I would stop the bullying. I would be more social. These were true statements from our students. So we were just celebrating the moment where they were able to open up to that teletherapy person, and we are able to extend services over the summer to our students. So the summer's coming up. What do we do? What can we keep going with? So we told the parents, this is going to be continuous throughout the summer. You're not alone. We added an extra little widget at the bottom of our website. These are all the different places that you can go for help. If we're not there to answer, we've asked that phone calls be forwarded so that they have somebody to go to still. So we wanted to ensure that because of these stories that we've heard personally from our own students. So moving along to new partnerships, new options that we have had the opportunity to be a part of. So one of our new community partnerships and extended is with St. Jude, and they have provided us with $32,000, and this is for portable freezer storage units that are going to be added to some of our school sites, Commonwealth, Valencia Park, and Woodcrest, and they are going to be for their mobile food pantries. And we are excited to announce that Nicholas has been awarded the opportunity to be part of the mobile school pantries, so Nicholas will be on board as well. Additionally, we have received, we will be receiving $140,000 over 2 years to be able to bring in more community engagement. The focus school is going to be Commonwealth to ensure that they have advisory groups that are going to be trained to bring in more families to see the concerns, where can we help, what's the additional training and professional learning that parents need. Attendance being one of them, a major component. Do they know how to navigate the school system? These are community engagement initiatives that we are going to have available to provide peer leading and a learning network for our school Commonwealth. And then hopefully we'll be receiving more funds for that as well. Building relationships and building trust there. And then our next steps that we have outlined here, we're going to be continuing our partnerships and district steering committee to have that collaborative voice and multiple voices from our community and leadership. We have received 2,232 responses for our needs assessment survey. So this is a lot of data that we will be going through to see what else we can offer our community, our students, our parents, and to see what services we can look for additionally as well. And we're going to be tailoring our community partnerships for each school site to address student well-being. And then the big announcement is we have been awarded cohort 3 2 schools, Orange Thorpe and Pacific Drive, and the big number there is $2,850,000, so that we can make sure that we incorporate these 2 schools now into our community center and incorporate all of the services. We will be adding them on as well, so that they have that opportunity to receive all that their students need in addition to.
Wow. And that brings us to a total of 8 schools?
Yes, we're just missing 1 school. So once it gets, the opportunity arises again, we will be applying once more for any additional schools that will qualify. So next we have a little short video to conclude, just so that you are able to see all the work that we have done. And with Jackie exiting us now, I wanted to introduce Jenny Saul, who's going to be a new program specialist that will be working with me on the community schools. But we want to offer Jackie a huge thank you for all that she has done and continuing the work. So you can play that.
Thank you all so much. Just wow. Definitely wow. Awesome. We're going to move on to superintendent's report.
Again, just to thank the whole crew. I know I want a special shout out to the whole summer school, and I know it is going alive and well, and so appreciate all the work that they're doing for that, both enrichment as well as interventions, as well as ELD, a whole variety of opportunities for our kids. So thanks to our entire team, classified, certificated, management, all putting that together. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Information from our Board of Trustees, and I'm going to start from our right to left since we got Bev on the phone, and I have an echo.
You want to start? Okay. Well, thank you so much for that report. That was so moving and just inspiring to see how we're caring for our kids and our communities. Thank you so much for all the hard work. I mean, thinking about those, the question, we don't have a magic wand, but we certainly have a lot of resources and amazing opportunities through these partnerships that you've created. People who are generous and this is staff that care. Thank you so much for caring for our kids and our families. And I think building those relationships, creating that trust is really the key to that. So you've done an excellent job. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, team, for putting all that hard work in and creating these opportunities for our kids and our parents. Really appreciate it. So we've got a couple things on our agenda today that I'm very excited about. Well, actually, many things that I'm very excited about. But I was thinking back how a couple months ago when we were thinking about this performance academy and it was being proposed, and I raised some concerns about the potential risks for our kids and believing that we need to ensure that whatever programs we're promoting outside of our FSD, when we're handing over the care of our kids to others, we want to ensure that we can vouch for them, that we can support them, and we have high standards for their protection and well-being. So after talking to Dr. Bob about this and saying, well, how do we make sure that all of the people we partner with really have the highest standards, and how do we help raise that? I am just really excited and pleased to be where we're at now, where today we're discussing revising our policy on adult-child interactions, as well as boundaries and safe behavior, and applying those expectations to all the adults that we partner with. From the community groups that we partner with to our after-school programming, anytime we give our kids over to the supervision and care of other adults, I think we have as an opportunity to raise the standards to ensure that all the adults that our kids are with are safe, trained, held accountable with high ethics and moral standards. And I'm really excited that we have this opportunity as a community, because I think it not only helps keep our kids safe, it breaks cycles of abuse, but it really models and teaches life lessons about what healthy relationships look like for our next generation. So I'm excited for that conversation today on multiple fronts and looking forward to today.
Trustee Thakur?
Yes, so as the resident, person that attended Orangethorpe and Nicholas, I can't tell you how beautiful it is to see the families that, time changes, but unfortunately socioeconomic issues don't change. Family dynamics don't change. Some of these comments that the students made, I'm glad it was cheered, because it means that there was a level of honesty that they'd achieved after 12 sessions. But it's also, also made me a little bit sad to see how much pressure and how many issues are on the weight of, in a perfect world, they would just be going to school, having fun, playing with their friends, learning. But, children feel everything, and sometimes they feel it more than the adults that are also going through these issues. So it's beautiful to see that. So thank you again. With regard to the school bond tonight, whenever I go back to Orangethorpe or Nicholas, having attended these schools from the early 80s to the early 90s, which is the late 20th century, and seeing that the physical structures haven't changed, and then you drive on the 5 South, and you get to places like new development in Tustin. Irvine is an old city now, having been incorporated in 1971. And then further south, things are just brand new. And Dr. Pletka and I have had this conversation since I got on the board. The architecture is art that we get to live in. And it can be something that uplifts you, or it can be utilitarian, and I think that's just the vibe that we had in schools and construction. This was a place to sort of corral children during the day, maybe. But if this board passes this resolution and we move forward with a bond tonight, after this vacation I'm taking this week, I am going to be working on this bond to convince my neighbors and my friends and community members how important it is for our community to reinvest in our infrastructure. And I'm excited for all of our discussion tonight, but those two in particular. So thank you, and look forward to talking about our school bond.
Awesome, thank you. Trustee Sugarman? Bev, do you want to share?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I would love to echo just what my other board members have said about the community schools presentation and how many partnerships and how many students and families we've been able to help. I'm also really pleased that we can add the other two schools, and that we have also been able to serve families that are not in those schools. That was one of my questions, is what happens to a family or a student who has an issue? Could we still serve them? And it looks like we have. So I really appreciate all of our staff and all of our partnerships to really create an environment that our families and our students feel safe in. Looking at those Daybreak Health results, like everybody had said, is heartbreaking. But being able to help for our future of our children makes a huge difference. So I appreciate everything, and I'm really happy that we're moving forward with that, and we have those resources. And I believe that might be it. So that's it for right now.
Awesome, thank you.
So, thanks, Bev. Yeah, we have so much on our agenda today that's wonderful. I feel badly when I read that some students are not secure and safe and feeling well and disappointed in their family situations. On the other hand, I am so thankful that the district has put in people to try to step out and help them, because generations ago that didn't happen. And in order for them to want to be in school, to come to school, to feel safe, you guys right there are making a huge difference, and the rest of the team. And that's wonderful. And sometimes people who are not in education don't understand all of the ramifications of what happens in children's lives. I believe since COVID hit us and has diminished a bit, these issues have become more and more prominent or more and more visible. And we can't help but think we have to embrace these issues to move forward, to do better. And that's part of the reflection of every school district, every school board member. The one common thing is we can't just say, my God, we got an award 3 years ago, we're good, let's go on, like that, because the world is not the same. It keeps evolving, keeps changing, and the residual from COVID in so many families is horrible, and we can't ignore that. We cannot ignore that. It has hit our whole community, not just 6 or 8 schools, our entire community, our entire city. And I appreciate the leadership and the camaraderie of all 5 of us to move forward on this. It's wonderful. On a equally important note, tomorrow starts the Nationals for Speech and Debate. I want to send super duper good luck and good wishes to our contestants and also to every single solitary parent and supporters of these children, the coaches. I mean, giving them a small stipend, it doesn't begin to measure, just like in sports, how much commitment and love they're giving to these children. And in their own way, they're doing something similar to what our counselors are doing. They are supporting the emotional health of children. They're giving them a feeling that people care and listen, will give them time. And so they are in their own ways counselors for our students. So good luck, and really thank you to Sal and his whole team for giving special interest to Fullerton School District to really help our students. And I can't be prouder of the team going. I had the fun of watching them practice last week for a short period of time, watching the young ones, watching the older ones, and they have a new topic where you take a word and you make a poem and you act it out. And they're doing wonderful things, but at that particular visit, I was able to hear children speak on physical and emotional issues that they face, whether it's their race or physical impairment, maybe. And they owned it, and they spoke on it, and they gave compelling speeches. And that only underscores not only the importance of doing the speech and debate and giving it our support as a board, but also the important social emotional growth and development and sharing it gives to everyone who hears them speak. So thank you. Thank you to my colleagues. Thank you to everyone for that support. And as we look in the future on how we're going to spend dollars, it's hard because if we really get hacked by the state, we need to support our children in all these different ways. So let's move forward with great thoughts that this is not going to ruin our programs, this California economy, and that we're going to go forward continuing to do more and better and great things for our kids. And tonight will be an example with so many wonderful topics.
Thank you, Trustee Sugarman. Again, I also want to echo to the schools, the communities and schools team, know that there's a big investment for a long-term impact in our community. Just knowing that it's not going to happen from one day to the next, that it's going to take some time to really kind of develop what that looks like and the true impact that it's going to leave behind. But I think you've all done an amazing job of really laying down a foundation. One of the things that I do want to share, and I did try to get out to this program specifically out in Valencia Park, the Poder program. I was actually one of the folks that initiated that program when I worked at Chalk Children's. So when I heard that it was coming to Fullerton, I knew that the partnerships that we were creating were the right ones, and that it was still going pretty strong. When I was working in the program in the past, I was able to get it ADA certified through the American Diabetes Association as a recognized program that had true impact out in the community. So I did reach out to my co-founder of that program as well too, to let her know that it was coming to Fullerton and that I was like super excited to see it happening here. Pat Hawk, her name is Pat Hawk, and she just said, yeah, there's different iterations now of it, but the core components are still there for it. So just wanted to give you all a little shout out on that, making sure that you guys made that connection, because it's a truly amazing program that we started many years ago. Don't want to share how many, but yeah. So I want to thank you all for that as well too. So we'll move on to informations from our associations. DLAC on vacation still. Sounds good. PTA? No. No reports. What about CSEA? No. No reports. FIDA? No. No reports at all. All right. Everyone's on vacation.
No, we have FSD right
FESMA, do we have a report? No? On vacation. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. No, that's perfect. We're going to go into the public comments section of today's meeting, which the Fullerton School District meeting adheres to the decorum of rules outlined by Board Policy 9323 by submitting a public request slip that is available at the entrance in the back left part of the building. Individuals are given 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item or non-agenda item. Public input on each of the items is capped at 20 minutes. And a total public comment time is limited to 30 minutes. So comments on agenda items will be heard at the time of the discussion, while comments that are non-agenda items will be heard during the public comment section of the agenda. No action or discussion is allowed. No agenda item unless permitted by law, which would be referred to the superintendent for handling. So, and board members are may request items for future agenda on future agendas with a timely discussion with the board president and the superintendent. But it looks like we have no public comments at this time, and we are going to move to the next section to approve minutes from the last board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 18th meeting? June 11th.
Last week. I would like to approve the minutes. It was a long, did I mention long meeting and complicated, and I want to comment that Aunt Anna did a wonderful job. No wonder why she's on vacation this week. She was probably afraid what we were going to do tonight, but she did a great job, and I didn't see anything I would have suggested to change.
Same here. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Awesome. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bev?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Making sure we got you covered there. Awesome. Now to approve the agenda as is, do we have a motion to approve the agenda
We
tonight?
have a couple walk-in items. I see that there's the item 8B of the consent agenda that's being added, as well as a walk-in item of discussion action item B on the PE policy. So I would like to move that we adopt the agenda with these additions to the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I ask? May I say something?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask that we. I don't have those revisions, so I just need to make sure that you guys outline the. Most importantly, whatever that second item is.
Yeah.
And then I personally would like to ask that we delay 9E, understanding that we have a pretty packed agenda, and 9E, the student interaction policy, is, as Ruthie mentioned in her statement, something that's very, very important, and I personally have a few items that I wanted to ask about it, and that probably would not be a great time to do it this evening, since it's 9E after a long alphabet before that. So what I'm asking is that we move 9E to the next meeting, unless it needs to be approved right away.
9D or 9E?
9.
The student interact. I think it's
D
9E
on
is an
our
egg,
agenda.
isn't it?
D like dog.
Yeah.
No, E is an egg. Like it's
Well,
the student
no.
interaction board policy 4119-24.
You didn't get the update.
I think we have an updated version, Bev.
Yeah, we have an
It's
updated
D like
version.
dog, but we know what you're talking about.
Is this the first reading, Chad? Approval. I agree, because I
I'm
have a
using the
list of
agenda that we have
questions also.
posted online, so maybe mine is not as updated as yours.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
It's, I move to second Bev's request to put it on the next agenda.
Is there a reason we need to have it approved in order to ensure it's in place before school starts, or can we do this in July?
We could bring it back in July and then have the board consider it at that point. Yes.
Okay, I'm fine with it then.
So we're pulling item 9D.
Should we still have a discussion if we have time, or we just want to leave it?
I would like to delay it completely because I don't want to have that discussion. I just feel like I'm at a disadvantage on the phone with this
Gotcha.
policy, and I have questions.
Yeah, she
Got
has
it.
questions and.
Yeah.
Alright. So
We
we
got
have.
One more question though. Rob, Do we have anybody waiting that's billing us, that's going to be speaking to us later in the meeting that we should have maybe present earlier?
No.
Okay.
Not tonight.
Just checking.
Good call.
All
Yes.
right. So we have a motion and a second?
So with the 2 walk-ins and the moving of the discussion D,
We're not pulling it, though. We're moving it to the
Moving it
the
to
July
meeting.
date.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1
Okay.
month from now,
Yeah. Moving it to July, was it 14th?
30th.
30th. There you go.
Yeah.
All those.
All right, everybody, so do I have a
I
second?
think I did the first
Second.
motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Perfect. As well. All right. So we approved the agenda. Now we have a presentation for local indicators sung. And Phil. Bring them both up.
Good evening, President Talavera, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Pleka, and Executive Cabinet. As part of California's accountability system, districts are annually required to report data of our local indicators on the same day as when the LCAP is approved. So later this year, the local indicators, along with the state indicators, will be reported on the California dashboard, as you are aware of. And at that time, when the California dashboard does get publicized, we will make sure to also do a presentation on the state standard. So today's presentation is really focused just on the local indicators. So the 8 state priorities can be categorized into 3 different domains: conditions of learning, pupil outcomes, and engagement. And within these 8 priorities are the local indicators that are boxed, you see there in red as well as blue, that each district is required to report on annually. When the state indicators such as the CASP results, chronic absenteeism, suspension rates are released, and we should expect those to be released in November, we'll make sure to present those as well. So we'll start with the conditions of learning. For the first priority involving basic services, you can see that Fullerton School District is 100% compliant in teacher assignments and credentialing, student access to instructional materials, and facilities meeting the good repair standard. Each of these priorities is typically measured annually through the Williams audit.
Yay. It's that, you know, we do so well on this that sometimes we forget. This is not easy.
And that's why we
And
put it big and bold right there.
I'm glad
as
you
well.
did, because I'm really proud that our school district does this.
Yes. The second priority involves the district's progress on the implementation of state standards, with level 1 being at the exploration and research phase, and level 5 at the full implementation and sustainability phase. So for each of the categories shown in this slide, FSD scored at level 4, which is full implementation. This includes professional development in all content areas, availability of instructional materials, implementation of policies and programs to support staff in delivering quality instruction, the implementation of the standards, both within the core content areas as well as the areas that are outside the core content areas, such as CTE, which is career technical education, health, PE, the arts, as well as the world languages. And lastly, the engagement of school leadership in identifying and supporting the professional learning needs of all of our staff. Last year, FSD scored at the same level, all 4s across the board.
So this is great. We're doing well. What would be the difference between a 4 and a 5 if we are sustaining the same scores as last year?
Right. I think it's really, it's on a scale. And what we do is we actually send out a survey to our teachers as well as our administrators.
Okay.
Really, sustainability means that there really is no
Growth
no
area.
much more, that we can do. But being at a level 4 really just means that we're fully implemented. For a while, we were at level 3 with the state standards, just because we didn't have, we haven't adopted our history, social studies textbooks yet, but we're in that process right now. And the third priority with the conditions of learning domain is the district's progress in offering all students access to a broad course of study. And as you know, FSD, we go above and beyond really in terms of giving students a wide variety of learning opportunities and experiences. And so this slide here represents some of the ways that we provide these opportunities and provide that access to our students. Now I'm going to hand it over to Phil, Director of Ed Services, who will also share about our local indicators specifically related to engagement.
Good evening. The next local indicators area centers around engagement, which focuses on authentic learning experiences and promotes the social, emotional health and well-being of our students. The two local indicators in this area are parent engagement and school climate, as you can see, and 3 groups of educational partners were surveyed: students, parents or families, and also teachers. Now, both qualitative and quantitative feedback were both collected. In the succeeding slides, you'll see this year's survey data averages, along with last year's averages below them in parentheses. In addition, the LCAP team provided the advisory committee with their survey comments, which help guide their recommendations on actions and services for each goal. In addition, the LCAP team will be providing this information to departments for whom this feedback is relevant for their programs. So as you can see, for student survey responses, students were surveyed on 3 categories within school climate: academic rigor, connectedness, and safety. Each question was presented with a 4-point scale, with a 4 being the most frequent and highest value in the question. This year, 3,158 students between 4th and 8th grade responded to the survey. 1,278 were in the elementary schools, and 1,880 were in the junior highs. Academic rigor contained questions around expectations, participation, real-life applications, and staff support. For example, one question is, I have opportunities to participate in activities and discussions during class. In this area, the overall response was 2.8 days. Connectedness is the next area, which had questions centered around inclusion, respect, and healthy discourse, where the average response was 2.75 out of 4. For this, questions were such as, I feel like I belong at the school, or students are kind to each other at this school. The third area is safety, where the average response was 2.86, and a sample from this portion is, I know what to do if there's an emergency or a dangerous situation happening during the school day.
The differential from last year, is that less than a standard deviation for error? It looks so close. With 3,000 kids.
Yeah, our sample
responding.
size was a little bit lower this year too, so I would probably say.
Yeah, it's pretty insignificant. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, you can tell we actually round the numbers in there's 100th place.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at the difference, most of it is within a 1/10 of a percent, or 1/10 of a point.
Got it. Because the safety one, of course, got my attention. But it's only 900. Thank you.
And these are areas that we're going to bring back to our teams as well. So as we talk about safety, connectedness, and rigor, we take it back to our ed services teams and all the other teams that have a program or run something that would be affected by these scores. And so hopefully in this case, actions and services will be modified or changed either on recommendation by the LCAP committee or through the departments themselves too.
Thank you.
For the community survey this year, we tried a new strategy by releasing a video about the collective voice our families have in the LCAP process. You may have gotten several text messages from this one this year, with a student, parent, and staff member featured in the video. And we're happy to see a 15% increase in parent responses this year, which contains 4 categories in the same scale. For the first category, relationships, partnerships, and decision-making, there were questions such as, the school does a good job partnering with families to ensure the success of students. And parents' responses averaged 3.21, exactly the same as last year, as you can see. The second category, centered around rigor, contained questions such as, this school has high expectations from my child, or when my child doesn't understand something, I know they can get help from the teacher. And the average score here was 3.30, again, very close to last year's scores. The third category, about connectedness, averaged 3.35 and contained questions such as, I have opportunities to help plan family engagement activities at my school. And lastly, around the area of safety, this is an average of 3.24 with questions such as, I feel that my child is safe at school. And last, teachers were also surveyed around local indicators with 4 primary categories. The first, social emotional learning, heads a set of questions such as knowing how to identify or respond to the social emotional needs of students. And the average score was 3.21 regarding their confidence in these areas. The second category focused on teachers' confidence in instructional strategies, such as connecting students' cultural backgrounds to instruction, supporting multilingual learners, or incorporating educational technology. And in this case, the average was 3.15. Third, safety, which involves teachers' confidence and knowledge of how to respond during emergencies, averaged 3.17, and also surveyed their sense of student safety on campus. And you can see this had an increase, so we celebrate that. The final category is school climate, which averaged 3.21. Here, questions included teachers' confidence in how students of varying backgrounds get along or how kind students are to each other.
Can I ask a question, Phil? Most of these are very similar to last year, but the only one I see some difference is maybe that social emotional learning. And we've been hearing a lot this year about teachers feeling like they need more support with behaviors in the classroom that are troublesome. Do you think that that is contributing to that, or have you heard anything, any kind of deeper understanding of why maybe teachers don't feel as equipped to address the social emotional needs of our students?
This is the opposite.
So they increased
This
from
is
last
the
year, I believe,
opposite.
right? It went up.
It
So
went up.
2.97
Oh.
was the confidence level last year,
Yeah.
and so we're
Yeah,
happy
you're
to
right.
see
So
that
that's good.
This year it's higher.
Yeah, it went up. That's great.
That's good.
Actually. And I think
Whoops.
part of that is probably because of the board listening to what the teachers were saying and understanding that we really do care about these issues.
All right.
We can.
And moving on to the next category. The last local indicator is parent and family engagement, which measures how Fullerton School District builds relationships with school staff, families, and students, along with how we develop partnerships and seek input for decision making. From this slide, you can see that there are multiple platforms and methods in which FSD strives to engage with parents, including our District English Language Advisory Committee, or DLAC, or our annual Champions for Children Learning Conference and Block Party for Families, parent workshops, various surveys that you heard tonight as well, and our Student Advisory Committee to incorporate the voice and thoughts of students in the decision-making process. Community partnerships with organizations such as the Fullerton Education Foundation, the All the Arts Foundation, and OC United are just a few examples of how FSD builds relationships locally. So upon collection of all this information, all local indicators data is provided to the state in the late fall, and results are posted on the California School Dashboard site in the winter. All parents and community members can see indicator data on the California School Dashboard located at that URL right there. And at this time, we can answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. A lot of really good information on there. Do I have any questions or comments from my fellow trustees?
Thank you, guys. Thank you to your teams as well.
It's going to be exciting to see these wonderful numbers put on the dashboard.
Yeah. Awesome, Bev. Don't want to forget about you. I know you're.
Bev, want to say something?
I will speak out if I feel like you guys are forgetting me. Don't worry.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Awesome. Moving on to our consent calendar. So, as Trustee Hanchett mentioned, there is a update on consent item B.
I move to give consent to the consent calendar, including the changed consent calendar. And can you please pull up our donations?
Donations.
Last week, we had under $70,000 in donations. And this week, OMG, people must have been afraid of what I was going to say tonight. And so look at this list and notice all of our partners. We have, again, our schools, I wanted to point out the Angels Baseball Foundation giving money to Commonwealth. That's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Angels have been supporting our schools for a long time, and it's so nice that they continue to see a need for that. And Education Services is donated to us. The Sprouts continues to support us, which is wonderful. And of course, I can't help but mention the Fullerton Education Foundation with a very nice size donation. So thank you to all of the groups that donate and to the people who donate to the organizations that donate, because those organizations wouldn't have the funds to give us if you didn't buy from Sprouts and support the Angels and do all sorts of wonderful things like with your local PTAs. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll just add for Bev's sake the addition to it's our certificated list of human resources changes. It looks like we have hired a program specialist at Ladera Vista. So replacing John Leonard as he moved over to Pack Drive. I'm glad to see we'll have a new program specialist / AP at the school.
Yes.
Welcome, Philip Sanchez.
Awesome. Do I have a second?
I also wanted to say that I noticed that we actually added to the Lynch Park, Maple, and Pacific Drive the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization. So we've extended that contract, which I really appreciate that relationship and being able to offer that to our students as well.
Awesome. Do I have a second to approve the consent?
I think it's been seconded. Right, did you second?
No.
I didn't second, but I will now.
I'll second.
A second?
No, I got
Yeah.
it. I
I
got
was
it.
waiting for that second. All right.
Second.
Rudy's got it.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Awesome. Thank you on that. Now moving on to section 9 of our agenda with, there we go. To adopt the resolution 2324-23 calling the school board of trustees election to be held on November 5th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 23/24-23.
All right, do I have a second?
I will second that.
All right, everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item B, approve revised board policy 6142.7 on physical education.
So this was the one that Chad's got a presentation. Go ahead, Dr. Hammett.
Actually, no, go right ahead. Yes.
Obviously, we've had this before us before, and I just had some very small changes, including a typo that I had thought would be a lot easier to make sense of if we emailed rather than having to discuss it in person. So the revised policy has two things. One is in the paragraph where it talks about independent study. Independent study was mentioned twice, so obviously striking that. I think the only other change that we had in this policy was to add 6th grade to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, which are available for independent study in physical education. And then my addition that I wanted to propose to our board was I realized that my review of this felt like we were talking a lot about physical activity, but not a lot about instruction around physical education. And so I simply added a small sentence around really that holistic view of health, which includes nutrition, healthy habits, everything from mental health and wellness, stress management, substance misuse, all of that I believe should be part of our physical education approach. So the statement I added was that the physical education program shall include education on the value of physical exercise, nutrition, healthy habits for lifelong health and well-being.
Fine by me.
I have a question,
Yes, go ahead.
and it might be for who would know. When we in the second paragraph of our board policy, it talks about our district's physical education program shall provide developmentally appropriate sequence of instruction aligned with the state model's content standard and curriculum framework. I'm worried. My question was: are the things that are being suggested already in that framework or curriculum? And the reason why I'm asking is that if we start writing what we think is important and it's already in the framework, I mean, I don't know if it's necessary to say that. I do believe it's important. I think we all believe it's important. But if we start to just pull out certain things that we think are important in all of our board policies, they're going to be very long. If it's already part of that, is this sentence necessary? I guess was my question.
Just some thoughts about it. So, yes, we do adhere to the state framework and state standards and a lot of the things that Ruthie had mentioned are inherent or in those, but there's not a problem necessarily in making language maybe potentially more accessible to parents. So it does cover it, but it's not necessarily a problem to mention it. So I think that's a stylistic piece that as a board you just have to decide.
I think that it's helpful for anyone doing PE to know that we do want you to follow the state curriculum. That's super important. And as you're doing this, please don't miss a comma or a page on these very topics that are paramount to your board. And so I don't think it adds any direction. It just underscores the relevance of things to the board. Would that make sense, Bev?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at down the road as when we look at board policies in general, we can continue, we can always add stuff to board policies. I just don't personally want to get in the habit of writing big, long board policies. I do believe this is important and I'm okay with this, but I wanted to bring it up as a discussion item just because I think that, Ruthie might think this is important, but then what happens if, Hilda thinks something else is important? We're going to just start to continue to add things that are already covered. So that was my only conversation. I just wanted to make sure that as a board we're not always doing this. I think this is important, but that was just my comment. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah, but I see this as not only sharing with our people, our FSD, PE teachers at all levels, K through 8, but also with vendors who have to live up to our negotiations with them, that they should not neglect or forget these very important pieces because we think it's important for students. Is that what you were thinking about?
Yeah, and I think there is room to put our own stamp on what is it about FSD that are our values, our core values, and unique about us. I mean, we oftentimes inherit policies from CSBA. It's the recommended model, but there's something special about FSD, and I think we as a board are elected to say this is what our priorities are. And I think we've made it very clear through our board policies and our goals, what we believe are important, our annual goals. We've got 5 that are around holistic kind of care of children. And so to me, the policy, because it is a template oftentimes, wasn't necessarily reflecting the unique nature of FSD, whereas I felt like this was missing. I agree that certainly we don't want to get into all the nitty gritty of all the details. Policy should be nimble. But to me, this kind of put a little bit of more of a stamp on what we value as FSD.
Yeah, my only comment.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'd say my only comment is this: as a board, this is the difference between maybe Ernest Hemingway and William Faulkner on what you want to do stylistically. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this.
Bev, I promise I'll never ever let anybody put burpees in this one for our kids.
For our kids. All right. So do I have a motion to approve the revised board policy with the additions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
All right.
Thanks, Bev.
There we go. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Thank you so much. Item C.
I want to ask one question. It's not about, I just want, as a follow-up to that policy, it says that we will report on students' physical fitness testing results. When do we get the reports on how our kids are doing on their physical testing?
Song, you want to help me out here? When's the next report on our physical education?
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
They're on an annual basis.
Okay. I think that's important for us to be informed on how we shape our approaches to physical education and wellness policy. So thanks. I will check that out.
Awesome. Item C, approve revised board policy 6158 on independent study.
Yes, this revised board policy was brought to the board for a first reading on May 21st at our board meeting then, and we're bringing it back this evening for the board to consider approving. There were no changes from the first read to what's being brought now.
Perfect. Any comments, questions? If none, do I have a motion to approve this board policy 6158?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Awesome.
I do want to give special kudos to Danielle for being able to, in these years, to give special attention to over 1,000 students doing independent study each year. And that's just amazingly wonderful. And she keeps on top of it and keeps a record of the work they've done and to meet all the federal guidelines. And kudos to Danielle, you deserve them.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to board policy, to approve board policy 4119 .31 and 4219.31 and this is the one that we're moving.
That's the one that, that is the
Yes.
one.
We're delaying.
Sorry, it's
till
split in
July
half
30.
on
That we moved out.
my end. Okay, that is D. So we
Yes.
are moving D. We're moving on to E, to adopt the proposed local control and accountability plan for the 2024-2025 school year. Do I have a motion?
Well, I think we're going to, are we having more of a presentation?
No.
Oh,
No, yeah. 'cause
okay.
this was
I
the-
so moved.
This was
I
also
read,
the
it feels
last
like
week.
20 versions
I-
of this, but there are 3. And just for the public to know, not only do we read this, but Orange County Department of Ed puts their stamp on it, and anything they don't like, they send back. And so thank you and your team, Dr. Brown, for all their work on this. Thank all the members of LCAP for really giving time and energy and care and love to creating this document.
Yeah.
I so move.
Awesome, thank you.
I just wanted to highlight a couple things that, we do read it. I got through most of the document, I think. Not the budget line by line at the very end, but some of the things I really appreciated seeing, and of course this comes from thousands of pieces of input from the community, from our staff, from families, but I love seeing how we are working on co-teach training for our teachers, and I think that it's so important for our community to understand how we are working to meet the needs of every single learner, and how this co-teach approach really makes sure that kids on special education programs are meeting their needs, but even kids who have advanced opportunities to realize their own potential and growth. With more adults and more teachers in the room, there's potential for everyone to have individualized approaches to education and attention. So it's a really, really positive approach, I think, that we're introducing more and more into our community. And I love that we're creating this internal dashboard for tracking our unduplicated students. That's going above and beyond what's required, but really focusing in, because we care so much about monitoring the participation and growth of our kids who are English learners, multilingual students, facing financial hardships and involved in the foster care system. So it's very clear that is a strong emphasis of this LCAP, that we are focusing in and meeting the needs of these kids, and we are going to see their growth both holistically but especially academically as well. And I see that even as we've teased out, our multi-language learners and our newcomer students as well, the long-term English learners as well. And I know I've heard from families that there's a need for that. They've been asking for, some of the same programs that we offer in multiple languages, not just Spanish or even Korean, but lots of opportunities for all families. And I know we're working on that this year.
increasing our scope and inclusion with DLAC and focusing on culturally relevant materials and bilingual aids in the classroom. I love that, especially to make our DLA program successful. We have to have bilingual aids, and we, especially for our kids, in our special education one-to-one aids, we really need bilingual staff, which is a huge challenge to find the right people. But I appreciate that we are prioritizing it, and I believe we're going to see results. So thank you for making that so clear, so explicit, and such a focus of this next year.
And I really appreciate the focus on absenteeism. Absenteeism is a devastating problem. Children miss enough school, and they don't want to come back. They don't fit in. And I'm wondering how we can capture students who are chronically absent sooner with SARB, and maybe we need to have more than one SARB meeting a month, because there are just so many students who are chronically absent, and some of them have no idea what their grades are and how they've suffered, and in many cases, neither do their parents. And on the other hand, in many cases, their parents need to be linked up with our counselors. Do we have a motion on this?
Awesome.
Yeah, we do. Okay.
We had a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
All right, everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Bev? She said aye. I know it.
She's still there. Hopefully she's still with us.
Are you there, Beth? Are you there, Beth?
Are you there, Bev?
I'm here, but my phone, never mind. It went off the mute, and I had to put it back on mute. And, sorry, I couldn't find the mute button.
How did you vote, Beth? I'm channeling
Aye.
Anna here. I'm channeling my inner Anna.
I got it.
Awesome. She
Aye.
voted aye on that. Awesome. Item F.
Yes, back again. Tonight, item F is to approve a renewed memorandum of understanding with the Fullerton Elementary Teachers Association, FEDA, regarding the independent study physical education. This is a renewed memorandum of understanding. We've had this in place since we began the independent PE program, and this provides for teachers to oversee students who are independent study PE, and these are particularly single subject PE teachers who would do that. And this is appreciate the cooperation that we've had with FEDA in order to put this MOU in place.
Awesome.
I'd like to ask the question. I know it's specifically for 7th and 8th grade teachers, I'm assuming because of the single subject credential.
That's correct.
What's going on with our 6th grade teachers who would think now, because of the sports academy, be overseeing independent study for 6th graders?
Right, so this actually Danielle will work with the 6th grade students who are then taking independent study as part of the Performance Academy.
Okay.
And
And as well as the conditioning if they choose to do that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Do we have a motion to approve the renewed MOU?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second?
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you
our
for staying with
teachers
us, Bev.
for working with us.
We got a pirate.
Item G.
We just keep
Chad?
on going.
Yes. So this is to approve a renewed memorandum of understanding with FEDA, Fullerton Elementary Teachers Association, regarding instructional assistance for TK, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade classes. We, again, are renewing an agreement to provide those instructional assistants to help provide additional support for our students in the primary grades.
So we introduced this last year, I believe.
This has been in place, I believe this is the 4th year.
Oh, 4th year?
Yes.
Okay. And are we seeing results of having additional aides in the
Yes.
classroom?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we're seeing, especially at the beginning of the year, when there's a lot of difficulties with students adjusting to school and new behaviors, and having that extra set of hands in the room is very helpful. We also have a series of assessments. As you know, we do a lot of work on teaching students to read. So part of that is being able to assess students, and generally our kindergarten, first grade students, TK students, aren't very good at monitoring themselves during one-on-one assessments. So that does help provide additional support during those assessment times as well.
Great.
And just as a side note too, the centers, I know a lot of our kindergarten teachers do centers, and so having an extra adult for sure helps out in that area too.
Oh, awesome.
I move to approve the renewed memorandum of understanding with the FETA regarding IAs for TK kindergarten, first and second grades.
Awesome. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Awesome. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
There we go. Item H.
Yes, thank you. This is to approve the renewed memorandum of understanding with FETA regarding extracurricular stipends. As you know, here in Fullerton, we do a wide variety of activities that take place outside of the school day. And you'll see those items listed from speech and debate to intramural sports to stage program. They're all listed there. And the teachers who support and support our students and provide these programs are provided with stipends to make sure these programs can move forward. And again, this is a renewed item. The only change to this from the previous year is a slight increase to the amount that the teachers are earning due to our negotiated pay increase.
Highlight the added thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Chad.
I will motion to approve this new revised memorandum of understanding. We are grateful for the teachers that dedicate their time after school and on weekends to support our kids.
Second.
Definitely.
Stipend.
So we have
Excuse
a
me.
motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much. And item I, adopt a resolution 2324 regarding education protection account.
Correct. So this is,
Dr.
we bring this every year. It's a requirement to be adopted prior to the adoption of the budget. And so if you would like, if you have any questions about this or what it's about, I can do that.
Yeah, any questions? Comments? Seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to adopt resolution number 23/24-19.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Awesome. Thank you, Bev. Item J. Is that you also, Dr.
Yes,
Coughlin?
and last week, or at the June 11th board meeting, we presented a proposed budget for 24-25 and the out years 25, 26, 26, 27. And so what the board is being asked to vote on tonight is to approve the budget for the 24-25 all funds budget as presented last week, and nothing has changed.
That amazing presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I move to adopt the proposed 2024-2025 budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 There we go. Item K, is that also?
Item K is another resolution that we bring every year in June. It gives the district flexibility in the event that we have to borrow from any of our other funds because of a cash flow issue. And so it just gives us that flexibility in the event we need to still make payroll and pay our bills. We may have funds in other, or money in other funds that we can temporarily borrow.
Awesome. Questions, comments? None? Do I have a motion?
I will motion to adopt resolution number 2324/20.
I second. Oh, go ahead.
Awesome.
You got it.
There you go,
You got it.
Bev.
We really wanted to.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. We're on to letter L.
And letter L, adopt resolution 2324-21 requesting temporary transfer of funds from the County of Orange. So once we've kind of exceeded our inter-fund borrowing, then the next step would be to borrow from the County of Orange funds. We would need to pay that back with interest. Currently, let's say they're earning 4.5% interest. We'd have to pay that plus 0.15 basis points or 15 basis points or 0.15%. This is a 5-year resolution, so this isn't brought every year. It covers us for 5 years in the event that we need to temporarily borrow funds.
Have we done that?
I'm sure that in the past we've had to, with deferrals, There were many deferrals a few years ago, and I'm sure prior to my arrival in 2017, there were a lot more deferrals, and so I'm sure they did that.
So at some point we did, and we have to pay interest on that money.
Correct. It's money that's earning interest, and so we're kind of paying ourselves back plus a little bit more.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions?
This is if our interfund transfers aren't enough.
Right. This
like
is money that's held in the, we have money that's held in the county treasury that's invested. It's not as liquid as the money that's in our funds. And so if we need to temporarily borrow that. So if we're pulling that out and it's not earning money, then we have to pay that back.
But is this sort of something that we do when our out years look cloudy, like they do now?
It's just routine.
It's a temporary funding. It has to be paid back at the end of the year, or depending when you by October 31st of the following year. It's a short-term loan. So when we do our multi-year budgets, we don't factor in having to borrow.
I think Aruni's asking is like, are we doing this like as a special reason, or if this was just a routine item that we do every year, bring this?
This is a routine item that we do every year in the event that the federal government or the state government, which we receive our money from, if they're unable to pay us in a timely manner.
I'm sorry, I thought you said this wasn't something that we do every year. That's why.
It's a resolution that we bring. It's a 5-year resolution.
Do it every 5 years.
Correct. So it's going to cover 24, 25, and then 4 years after that. Correct.
Aye,
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
It's not just because of the climate.
Yeah.
It's always, I ask
Okay.
questions.
Awesome.
Well, I move to approve this item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 There we go. Item M.
Item M is adopt a resolution 2324-22 ordering a school bond election and establishing specification for an election order occurring on November 5th, 2024. At the June 11th board meeting, the board was presented a resolution calling for that election, and what is in the agenda here is the same resolution. Nothing has been changed on that. Approval of this resolution requires that at least 4 board members vote yes. Once approved, the resolution needs to be filed with the Orange County Register of Voters by Friday, July 19th, 2024. And we will not be going right up to that date, but we will more than likely file it about July 17th.
Also, this does need a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Okay.
Okay, can I ask you a question? A minute. You frightened it out of me. Let me see. On this item, when we file it, that's the date that no money can be taken from our school district to go after passing this bond, correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So
Tell me.
no money has ever been used for advocating for the passage of a bond.
Okay.
We can use district funds to provide information, factual information, all the way up through the election. We can do
I
that.
see.
As far as the advocacy, vote yes, you are correct on that. That would be a campaign would be put together, and that would take place in the next month.
Okay, so the date we file is very important in terms of what we can do and how we raise money?
Well, it is important and it's not, because at no time over the last 2 years have we used any district funds to advocate to vote yes. We used it to gather information and to disseminate that information out to the community. So want to be careful with that.
Thank you. I wanted to be sure that the thousands of people who are listening in to our translations tonight and to our streaming understand that their students and our students, 10, that our student funds are not being used for anything to do with the bond, to advocate. Anything to do with the bond, because that's really important. Sometimes people get something in the mail and they think, they don't have money to do whatever and they're spending money. No, that is not what we would do. I just want to make sure that we know that. And not only us, but that our employees all know that too. We're not taking salary money to spend on advocacy for a bond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Rob, what about the last issue, in case there is 1 in 1,000 or 1,001 people listening tonight? Will our Fullerton property owners be paying 2 bonds at the same time, for example, the one that's finishing and the one that we hope to start?
Thank you. So that is in the resolution.
Thank you for that.
The prior bond, which was passed back in 2002, I believe it was 2002, will be paid off in 25-26. Currently, the median homeowner's paying about, I think it's 19, trying to think, remember the dollar amount. What's that?
I think it's like 18 something, 1,000.
It's close to that. The amount of money that they're paying on that there'll be no overlap. So what that means is, should the bond, you vote on that, it goes on the ballot, it's voted yes, and bond funds come in. Those bond funds will not be received and be paid back until the prior bond is paid off. There will be no overlap. And so the average household, I think by the calculation, again, these are just facts, the average median home it's the median home assessed value, not what you would sell it for. It's about $500,000. So the median homeowner will see an increase of about $45 a year.
So the public needs to understand they will not be paying twice. That's a great question, Aruni. And everyone needs to understand that, because people don't want to pay big taxes. So this is very conservative on the part of our board and our leadership.
Right. And there are many districts that have multiple bonds. And in a district our size, the most, it would be $30 per 100,000. There are some districts that the average homeowner might be paying $90, multiple layers. One of the reasons the bond from 2002 was actually paid off sooner. The previous boards and some members of this board took the initiative to refinance the interest rate on those bonds and not keep that savings from there, but to give that back to the taxpayers, which then paid off the bond debt sooner. So that was very fiscally prudent that the boards did.
Well, and Hilda, you brought up the point that, sometimes people don't want to pay taxes, but I was thinking about how there is no greater investment that we can make than in our kids. We know that.
That's why we're sitting
but
here, and they know that.
Everything from property values to the democracy that we expect in our community. I mean, it is what makes a great community. I was reading this week Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who says the test of the morality of a society is what it does for its children.
Yes.
We have this opportunity to invest in our kids, and I believe our community will rise to that opportunity.
So, want to be careful. Our schools are over 60, 70 years old. We have facility needs, and those needs need to be addressed. And the money that would come in from a bond would be used to improve those facilities.
So no money toward the education. The way the money would come to the education is by using facilities, by improving facilities through the bond. It frees up dollars that don't have to repair pipes, and we can use that for our educational programs. But the bond dollars we do not use, correct?
Bond dollars need to be used for facility improvements, and yes, that you are correct. Again, these facilities were built so many years ago, and just like a home that is 50, 60, 70 years old, the plumbing, the electrical, the roofing, all of those things which require major renovation. It's not just upkeep. Parts, things go bad. And so that's what these funds would do, is to give the new life into these buildings so that they can move forward for another 30 to 50 years.
I wish that all the people who vote in our community heard this discussion, because I think it would rest their minds a lot more, and that all of our staff heard this discussion, because you are so enlightening for us and for our community. And I believe we also have an oversight committee.
Is part of the when a school bond is approved, there is a requirement to have an oversight committee. And what that oversight committee does is they approve every expenditure that is made using bond funds to make sure that it is used exactly how the resolution and what the voters voted on. Yes, you are correct.
Thank you.
Awesome. I move to adopt resolution number 23/24-22.
I'll second that.
We have a second. So this is a roll call vote. Trustee Hanchett,
Enthusiastic, yes.
Trustee Thakor,
I'm so excited to vote yes on this.
Trustee Sugarman,
I'm excited not to vote yes on doing this. I'm excited to have it pass. We need it for our schools.
and so your vote is yes. Trustee Berryman,
Beverly,
Yes.
we
perfect.
don't even need you.
And my vote, of course, yes.
5.
Passes 5-0. Awesome. Thank you so much. We're moving on to section 10 on this discussion.
Yeah, so just the background on this. So we do adhere to recommendations and safety guidelines with our partners, but we're really looking to go to the next level and provide an enhanced level of safety recommendations. And specifically, we're not looking at, as an example, someone who's doing a repair of a projector. We're not talking about contractors that are coming in. There are still minimum requirements about what they need to do and things like fingerprinting and those sorts of things. But we're really talking about those organizations that will be alone with our children providing additional services. So as an example, OC United, Boys and Girls Club, those sorts of organizations that are alone with our children. And so that's really what the discussion is before you today. And at some point, I mean, looking down to it, there's also even an increase in terms of insurance as well. That's another piece. And then Chad, is there anything you want to add or on this?
Other than just we've provided a list which has the enhanced practices. Those enhanced practices will be enhanced by the board policy that we're looking at bringing to the board in July for discussion. As contractors, partners, others will refer to that information to help them further their learning. We'll also be having, for those contractors so choose, the ability to participate in further education, further learning for their employees, and the ability to really have these extra resources available for these groups that come in.
And just as a side note, it would match the training that our staff gets in this area.
What do you want from us?
Any further discussion?
What do you want from us?
It's a discussion item.
So good.
So it's I think the discussion is, so if, again, and not meaning to be reductionist, but there's all kinds of different like hybrids of these. But basically, you can continue to just follow the practices that we have. So we do have those practices. Fingerprinting is an example of that. You could adopt these new enhanced safety protocols as one of your options, and then you could do some combination of or remove something or add something. So you're not restricted to those two things, but I think if you're looking for, like, substantively, what is it where you're discussing is, do you want to keep it as is, which there is safety, again, things like fingerprinting is a requirement. We do those, but so that's your one option. And second option is, do you want to have our partners adhere to this enhanced set of safety protocols? And again, you can also add things and take things out, but those are really the two options that you have before you.
do we have these enhanced? I believe we had these when we were discussing the performance academies, and we were talking about the additional skip insurance. Correct?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, same ones.
Chat, can you mirror those for us?
I have the list of what we would ensure our partners and vendors provide from.
Yes, I have the list as well. So I can actually put it up if you'd like to see it.
And there was also the training that was provided in an email supplemental to the agenda that talked about some of the content that's covered in the training that partners would be provided and expected to participate in.
Okay, let's see here. Maybe it's ELC 1. No, just ELC. Excuse the technical difficulties.
Can you help him, Jeremy?
While he's doing that, I do have a question for Scott and maybe Mike, two of you guys. How do you think this would impact the vendors coming to work for us? Would this cause a problem? I mean, I like all these things because I want to wrap a blanket around every single child and protect it, and every single employee. But I wondered if you have any comments to make on this type of thing.
I think Jason might also have a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
around
smiling.
The partnerships we have.
So I think Bobby mentioned this is specifically for partner organizations, maybe not necessarily
That are providing
someone that's
care.
providing.
Supervision of students.
Yeah, supervision of students, providing care of students.
Okay.
Again, this is not for, and we have all kinds of contractors come in for varieties of reasons, including things like cement and electrical, plumbing. We're not talking about that.
Do you think that? Do you have any comments to make on this type?
Yeah. So insurance providers, it's like just the normal people. We get car insurance. Some providers, depending on what the business is, might be high or low. It's not a set standard with insurance policies. So general liability is typically your 1 in 3, 1 in 2 aggregate. SAM coverage could be 1 in 3, 3 in 6, and again, it all varies on the complexity if there's going to be a staff member there from Fullerton School District or not. So there's a lot of variables that we look at. The higher, obviously, the SAM coverage, the more expensive rate it's going to be for the vendor. And if that's the standard of what it needs to be on that, then we'll definitely cover it. But that would be really the impact on the vendor is just the higher that SAM coverage, the more money they're going to have to put for their broker to support them with the needs of what we are requesting them to be a part of.
And a lot of these groups we're contracting with are nonprofit organizations, and SAM meaning sexual abuse and molestation. I mean, we're ensuring our people so that if something bad happens, that there's coverage to pay the costs of civil and criminal lawsuits, right? But I think a lot of our nonprofit partners already carry this insurance. Am I correct, Jason? Or you want to tell us more about the groups that we would contract with for like after-school programming and even summer programming that we work with our kids?
Yeah, they do, but we will make sure we work with them so they meet our policies, and they're very willing to work with us so that we support all the students in our district.
I was also thinking, like folks that we partner with at the communities and schools, like at Nicholas, and I know they left, but maybe, asking them if kind of what their feedback is with a lot of those organizations that we partner with. I'm not sure how often they are alone with our students, if there is staff on site already in conjunction with them, because I think that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about specifically those that we're contracting with, being alone with our students with no staff on site, correct?
Right. We're not talking about organizations that come in. I mean, we have all kinds of, museum programs, and we have, different people that come in and speak. They're under the supervision of staff. We're not talking about that group. We are talking about those vendors that are specifically providing service alone with children. And so, and again, the Boys and Girls Club, OC United, those sorts of things. I think we have had summer programs, summer camps, and so those are the sorts of things that we're talking about.
With Soulful.
Soulful, potentially, yes. So,
I was just going to say, I think it is important that we think about, and it's mentioned here, district-provided list of equivalent training as well. Because when we were reading through the contract for Boys and Girls Club, for example, part of our consent agenda today, they clearly have their own training program, their own policies for protecting kids, which I think we can trust. So the question would be ensuring that we are, all these organizations are at least meeting our standards, even if it's a different organization that's doing their training or ensuring the viability of what they're doing. In the same way I think about our sixth grade camps or our overnight science camps. I think that I'm going to expect that all of their staff are trained, that they have policies and protection measures in place. It would just be making sure that we're holding them accountable, verifying that it aligns with our expectations. So it's not that every single person would have to go through our training, but they would have to verify with us that they have at least done their due diligence with something that's equivalent. Can you affirm that?
Yeah, that's correct. And there are standards that have been set up by the state regarding what that looks like and what those trainings need to include. So, and whether that's child abuse and neglect reporting, whether that's sexual abuse and molestation training, all of those things do have standards set. And we will check to make sure that even if they have their own training program, that it's aligned with what our expectations are from both the state and from ASCIP, our insurance provider.
Absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity for us to raise the standards for those that don't currently have it, and to align and make sure there are industry standards of how the research shows us how best to keep kids safe, and so we want to work with those who have already embraced those standards and bring up the standards and expectations of those who maybe because they're smaller nonprofits, part of our community that are doing good work, but just haven't made it to that level yet, that we are also offering this opportunity for them to grow.
Yeah, just two pieces. I think this is an opportunity to increase that sense of safety. I know that's been one of our board goals, and so this would be very much consistent. In fact, we would be one of the few districts in the state to be adopting this higher level, and so we talk about child protection, and this would be one more step towards it. Yes, does it cost more for insurance? That's $3 million versus $1 million. It does. So. Is that an impact? Yes. So there's a reality around that. But as you consider the additional costs, we also are considering providing practices that provide the most safe environment for kids.
Yeah, and the cost is not to us, the district.
Yes and no. I mean, what usually happens is if there's a cost their cost goes up and charges us more.
They charge us more to cover the difference.
So a group like the Boys and Girls Club, though, who probably already have this in place, they're not going to go up because they're already doing it. To me, it's more shocking that everybody's not doing this, I have to admit. Times have changed in the last 80 years, 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, and there's a lot of craziness out there. And we want to protect the kids as much as we can. So I'd like to move to accept the higher standard.
Yeah.
Is there any confusion? Do we have a clarity on the lens of who this will be applied to? I mean, I think just generally it's anyone who's supervising and entrusted with the care of our students where there's not an FSD staff or certificated person in charge, right? So it doesn't apply to like PTA after school activities where parents are watching their own children. Do we need to provide any more clarity on where this would apply?
I mean, it's specifically for our vendors, and it's specifically for those vendors that are alone. I mean, if you want to add that to a motion item, I think for us, staff were very clear
Got
about
it.
what this is.
Okay.
Again, this is not meant for the museum who's going
Mhm.
to come in and do a museum program or those sorts of things. This is for vendors that will be working with our kids directly, that without the supervision of staff. If you want to put that in a motion, you can do that, or those sorts of things. But I think it's clear for staff. It's clear.
You got it.
Yeah, direction. Yeah. I would love to see within 3 months of school starting to see who's had to adopt, the higher standards, and just kind of take a glance at who's not adopting the higher standards and who is, and just kind of see. Bev, you had a question. We heard you. Comment.
Bev?
Are you pointing at me, Hilda?
Yeah.
You're pointing at my chair. I saw you. The document does say intended as vendors and not visitors, so I'm there. I think it's a great idea. I can't imagine not covering as much as we possibly can, especially in an environment like this. And when we are contracting out with more and more vendors to come in and do other things with our students, that we just need to make sure that we're being as mindful as we can to protect them. So I would say I agree with it. I would go for it.
Can I ask one more question? Will this specifically, in that clarity, does this specifically apply to all of the programming that we are now partnering with as partners with the FSD Sports Performance Academy, those that we are promoting and advertising?
Yeah, I think there's two pieces. So for those, any partners, providers, collaborators that are on our site providing that, or directly, again, on any of our sites, that's the case.
Okay.
For just organizations that are in the community, they don't necessarily need to do that.
So to be clear, like Peach Jar, you got an advertisement, there's a karate program. It's not on our FSD website as a partner. We can't vouch for them, not to say there's anything wrong with them.
Yeah.
But if it's listed as one of the partners that we use, whether it's after school programming, summer programming, FSD Sports Performance Academy, we are holding them to these higher standards.
I think it has to do with if they're a vendor of ours. I mean, obviously you can add any caveats to this. This is specifically those that we enter into an MOU with or an agreement with. Those would be those that provided. I mean, you can always add to whatever you want, but in terms of what's before you, this specifically has to do with vendors that we have some sort of agreement. Whether that agreement is there's an exchange of dollars, or whether that's just an agreement that is, and we do, sometimes we have $1 agreements, or in some case there is no money exchange. But if there's if it's a contract and it's a vendor, these conditions before you would be in operation.
So sometimes we don't even exchange a contract. That's just, for instance, like the new the K-pop group that we're doing a partnership in the sense of we're promoting them, we're saying we've approved them, we like them, send your kids there. Are we also expecting them to comply with these higher standards?
Not necessarily, because as an example, let's use insurance. There would be no insurance for us for them. Again, you can add whatever you want, but in this case, it's specific to vendors that, again, are providing direct service at our sites or under the auspices of Fullerton. So, I mean, potentially it could be off-site. An example that could be a science camp or those sorts of things that potentially could be under this. But in terms of the collaborative as an example, we have a partnership with them, and
they don't provide care for our kids.
Yeah, they don't provide care.
So with the Sports Academy, it'd only be Delta because we've entered an MOU contract with them.
Yes.
But as far as okay, so that would be the only Performance Academy group so far.
And if we had another group came on, then that would apply.
Okay, that's clarity is important. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Anything else? No? Perfect. I think staff has...
You have to vote.
No vote?
Just a
No, it was just a discussion.
So when is this coming back?
This would come back up the next one. In fact, it'll go well together.
Oh.
So officially, you could vote on it. So we would take it back, and we would bring this as an action item. It goes very well with your other policy of the adult student interaction. This would kind of dovetail. Both of them could be voted on together. And I think it does send a strong statement to the community about how important safety is to this board. So
Could we, I don't know, create a little check star emblem that says this is a group that has chosen to comply with our higher standards? I think that that designation might be something of value to nonprofit organizations and even for-profit businesses. I mean, or is that putting our liability out there of, I mean, I don't want to, we don't control these organizations, but there would be something to say this is FSD approved that I think could be of value to organizations that willingly comply.
We could do it opposite. We could say this organization meets the highest standards of whatever the right term would be.
Yeah.
And then it isn't us giving them a certificate, it's presenting their own qualifications on information.
yeah, I think there will be a point of pride by organizations that are able to say they meet FSD's enhanced SAM practices. And whether that ends up being a logo or a seal, I think that's quite fine. That would be up to you.
We want to make it an elite, well, not an elite. Everybody's welcome. We want everyone to join the club. We want them all to be excited about participating in this way. Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm happy.
Awesome. Moving on to Section 11, an administrative report on the first reading of revised Board Policy 5131.8, communication devices, mobile communication devices. Jeremy.
This is just a board discussion based on first read. So we sent the draft policy. Ruthie also sent a policy out, which we forwarded to everyone. And so it's really just a time for you to comment, have discussion, add, take away. We had a few comments from FIDA that I can share. There was definitely interest from FIDA in ensuring smartwatches were included, which we have. And then also things like earbuds or AirPods. We wouldn't ever want to call it AirPods. We could say wired or wireless headphones to cover the future. Just like we added smart glasses in there. I don't know if you've seen the new fancy Wayfarer glasses that are built with Meta built into them. We want that covered so we don't have to come back in 3 months and redo this again. But whatever you decide as far as bell to bell, nothing on campus, whatever that is, we should make sure wireless and wired headphones are included. Again, unless they've been allowed by a teacher and administrator, most likely. But really, I'm just here to answer questions as you all discuss. If you need any impact or input from what we had from the attorneys or anything, I have that information that we've already shared, but I'm happy just to be here as you discuss.
I have a question. Okay, in the very last paragraph, it says that Fullerton School District personnel will not investigate the theft of these items, will not reimburse for any loss of smart or stolen, anything like that. The part about the theft is a bad thing to happen on a school campus. Whether it's your jacket, your lunch, your wallet, theft is bad. I don't know what I think about, and I'd like to understand why you put in there that we won't look into theft.
That was copy. Ruthie, do you want to comment on that? That came from
Well, I
suggestion.
actually saw that every Anaheim school has that as their policy because they're basically saying you're not supposed to bring your phones to school, so we're not going to spend our time tracking them down. I think it's about taking the responsibility away from the school district to pursue that. I mean, I think certainly families could pursue, call the police and report a phone was stolen, right? If that happened on campus. It's just sort of taking the burden off of staff to investigate those things, I guess.
Just two things. One is we would investigate, this would fall under, for us, a disciplinary behavioral issue. So if we had somebody, a child that accused somebody of stealing, we would investigate that. as far as the financial liability, the district is always responsible for negligence, but if there is no negligence, we would not want to accept all responsibility for something that we're not negligent on. And potentially, too, as an item, having someone in some of the phones can be $3,000-$4,000, depending on what they get. We don't necessarily want to assume that responsibility. I think right now even just an average iPhone, I think, is almost $1,200 or $1,300. And so I think there's two issues. Behavioral issues we would investigate. We're not assuming liability when we're not negligent.
Yeah, and you can soften the language to say, like, the district is not responsible for investigating theft. We do it anyway, absolutely. Like, they will always try and figure out what happened, but we don't go to the point where, well, you're now responsible because you didn't figure out who took the phone.
I like that better. I'm a little bit offended by "we will not investigate."
Sure.
We could cut that sentence because actually there's a typo in it, but it says FSD assumes no responsibility and then will not reimburse for losses stolen. I mean, we're not responsible, but it doesn't mean we don't do anything about it.
Okay, but I like that we're stating up front that we want to take no responsibility for reimbursing I like that. I don't want to take
It's just the investigation piece. We don't.
It's the investigation piece.
I'm saying we could cut that sentence
about.
out. We can cut the sentence about FSD personnel not investigating. I would actually add at the very end, even if they are confiscated by FSD staff, because that's the point, is if we take their phones and then they're somehow lost.
We state that up above. Somewhere up above I saw that.
Okay. So you're
Okay, I
looking
don't
to
know.
strike the entire sentence about investigation.
I don't.
I believe-
That's up to the board. It's fine with me if we just lessen it the way you stated it a minute ago.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
up to
probably
you.
would.
Take it away.
Yeah, take it away.
Okay.
That we wouldn't investigate, because I think we would.
It's respectful to families
Yeah.
and students, and Would our attorney comment on the last sentence, please? Aruni? The last sentence about we will not reimburse. Are we okay just by stating that, or is it strong enough?
Why would we reimburse?
Oh, because everybody likes to sue. So that's why, you park your car somewhere and they say, we're not going to be responsible if it was broken into and things are taken.
Same idea.
Yeah, those probably aren't enforceable. We should leave the language in, though.
Okay.
Just to let parents know that there's no expectation that was.
Great.
For the district, to be able to reimburse. Yeah.
Thank you for working hard, both of everybody, on coming up with this policy in a sensible and pretty succinct way. It's
Yeah.
only the page and a half you wanted it to have. Good job.
One thing just to add, we had not covered, like, no video recording.
Yeah.
Because we've already said you can't use the phone. So it's like saying you can't drive, and if you are driving, don't speed. It's like, no, we already said you can't drive, so we're sort of covered. When I was doing some research, I was looking to see if there was any way to do audio recording when your watch was in airplane mode, and technically you can. So I think we actually probably should go ahead and add in no audio video recording, just to have a line, because if there's some way they figure out.
Yeah.
Because also there is a line that says you can use your phone if you feel like there's an emergency. If someone said, well, if there's a fight, that's an emergency, therefore I can be, no,
You
we're not
do have a
videotaping.
line that says, no one shall record video or audio of other students or staff without written permission. That's under number 4.
Oh, sorry, I apologize, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, right below.
And
So we have that.
Thank you.
I think
We're
we
good.
should add, no one shall use personal devices to record, and I would add images as well, because that's a real concern of kids taking photographs of each other.
That's up further. It's in there.
But if we're mentioning videos, audio, I would say images, still images as well. And it's using personal devices, because it's absolutely appropriate sometimes to do videos with their iPads, right, for class assignments. It's just the personal devices that we're concerned about. So while I know the entire policy is about personal devices, I would make it very clear there that that's the distinction.
Let me find that line.
The same for,
It says, smartphones and other mobile communication devices shall not be used in any manner which infringes on the privacy rights of any other person. No one shall record videos or audio of other students or staff without written permission. So in the sentence before, it says private things, smartphones and mobile communication.
I think that I would say for the clarity of especially kids, they're often told, use your iPad to take a video. That's very different than a personal device. So they don't need written permission to take a video in class if the teacher tells them to, but they do if they were going to use, their personal phone to take images or videos.
Up above it says, 1 minute. When a teacher or administrator grants permission for the student to possess or use a mobile communication device, including in designated areas subject to any reasonable limitation imposed by that administrator. When the possession or use is required by the student's individualized education program, of course. It's really a pretty good policy.
So were you asking to ensure there's a very clear difference between personal and like a district device? So
I do, because I think it can be confusing for kids when they're told to use their iPads but not allowed to record on personal devices. I think making that distinction is important.
So we could do something like district devices may be used to record audio, video, or images with teacher or administrator permission for educational purposes. So we could do a separate line that's just district devices can be used, personal may not, like ever, for any reason be used to do this. Because that's something they won't be doing because they already have a device that can accomplish these things.
But they still shouldn't be doing, go ahead.
But don't we say that at the top of it, we're pointing out that this policy is just for personal smartphones? And personal devices?
I don't think we need that line about it's okay to use the school. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, because if somebody feels that they're smarter than us and decides to record someone doing something inappropriate using our device, we don't want that either, right?
Well,
they take it into a bathroom and they record someone going to the bathroom.
That's an
That's a
AUP,
student
though,
behavior
which is
issue.
separate from personal.
Right.
So if you keep this as the personal device,
Yes, and the other.
that's an AUP.
Yeah, we deal with that separately.
Right.
The other has teeth.
I think, Hilda, though, you did bring up this question that I have been puzzling with is our society, our community, we do use cell phones to record egregious behavior as evidence, right? I mean, we would not know about George Floyd's murder if a child hadn't recorded it. And so there are occasions where it is appropriate. So I think, I don't want to delineate all the times where it's okay here and there, but when you brought up that question of like in an emergency, would you record it? Yeah, I think it comes down to probably teaching and education. Like recording a student fight is not probably appropriate, but I don't know, there might be situations. I guess that's up to judgment and education with our kids.
I think we're trying to contextualize it a little bit. So we are contextualizing it at school during this, in essence, during the school day. And you've already kind of outlined that you're not going to allow them to even access their phone. And so I think it makes it a moot point. Because we're not trying to say in all situations. We're not even saying at the end of the school, the school day. We're saying literally just between the hours of school, this policy is in place. So we're not trying to make broader statements or about the use of cell phones in other contexts outside of what we're doing here in school.
And number one, under the exceptions, in the case of an emergency or in response to a perceived threat or danger. Now, it doesn't have to be a threat to you. It can be a threat to you,
someone else.
And so what you're saying is covered.
It is,
Basically, what this wonderful board policy is doing is it's giving flexibility to use good common sense in the disciplining and enforcement and implementation. And if we actually make videos to show at the schools and show the parents and talk to the parents about the policy, that will help with the enforcement of the policy,
Absolutely.
I believe, right? In a broader sense.
Yeah. I have one other suggestion to the language, because of the conversation with our teachers that said they wanted to include the earbuds conversation as well. I don't know if we need to talk about pagers, but gaming devices can also be a concern. Those, I would add that into the very first paragraph, third. The second is pretty much striked out, but mobile communication devices such as, and it's smartphones, smartwatches, smart glasses, I would add gaming or other mobile communication devices and accessories. And that's where you could include earbuds and wireless headphones. Should be turned off or on airplane mode in a smartwatch and out of sight during school hours. I think the out of sight piece is important because kids do walk around with earbuds, and I think removing those from all, the point is to not be a distraction in the classroom or even during lunch and breaks.
Yeah, the smartwatches we particularly called out for airplane mode only, just because we don't want to say you have to keep that in your backpack because it's your watch. I mean, kids are, we actually want them at,
Yeah,
someday
that's
or
true. The smartwatch wouldn't be out of sight.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be out of sight.
I agree with that. I agree with that, Sue Ruthie.
And for sure, it's not meant to be a comprehensive list. I mean, was it the Apple's new ProVision glasses? I mean, so and it's just going to keep evolving.
They cannot walk around with glasses. I'm sorry, that's not.
Yeah.
So even if they're turned on, off, that's not.
Yeah. So I think
acceptable.
but I think the policy is large and broad enough that pretty much any of the devices that kids can either think of or will be created over the next 2 or 3 years will be good.
Do we have to sign?
So,
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
I didn't catch when we were talking about no one shall record video or audio of other students or staff without permission, written permission. That's still in, right? I know you were talking about this. Did we add something about photographs?
I think we should.
Yeah, we'll add that as long as the board's
okay.
agreement. Yeah.
Thank you.
For second reading.
Perfect. Any other comments?
The only other comment that a principal did ask me in regards to was, would they be able to add an addition if, because right now it says school hours. Well, school hours can be bell to bell, but sometimes there's that entry point where they're coming onto campus in the morning and there's AirPods everywhere. And if they want to say, no, like from the door, you can't do this, can they add, could we add a line that says school sites may add additional parameters to these rules? If it becomes an issue at their school.
I don't think the actual policy says bell to bell, even though that's what we've discussed.
It says school hours,
which to me implies, once the bell rings, right? I think it's up to, I personally feel that the principal can make that decision if he or she wants to say once you enter campus.
There's something here.
Because in a sense,
that's adding on to.
They're in their care in a sense, right?
Yes.
I mean, once they come on campus, we're responsible for them.
I
So
think
maybe adding, some type of component to allow for principals to enforce that as well.
There's number 2 here says, when an administrator and I guess we could put back in teacher, grants permission to the student to possess or use a mobile communication device for whatever the reason, during or reasonably limited, we can put in a limitation there. In other words, the school can do things as they wish. It's just, this is our minimum policy.
Well, and I think the idea is to be consistent, and at the minimum, we're saying bell to bell so that it's not a distraction from learning. We want to give kids 6 hours or whatever the total minutes is of freedom from the distraction of phones and the FOMO of not being online, and just be focused on what's in front of them in school. And so if a principal wishes to add to that, I think it's up to the community to decide how, once they enter campus or not. But I think once school starts, that's when they're under our care, and our education should be priority.
I was going to say something similar. We were looking for a more uniform policy because some of our sites are more lax and some are experiencing more problems with these devices. So it's better for us to sort of be firm in something that every school will agree with and a student would agree with, and hear about from their friend, oh, you get to do that at your school? We don't get to do that. So I think we should not allow at this time for like individual policies to already start developing.
Except some schools like to have that, aren't having real problems, and they wanted to have that zone during lunchtime where people can phone. And so there is the ability for schools to personalize programs, which is basically what we do at every site all the time. So yeah, it wouldn't be the same if you went to school X and Y, but the programs aren't the same. One school has dual language, another school doesn't. One school has acting, another school doesn't. So, well, acting happens to be probably everywhere. But we have different programs at different sites. One site has woodshop, other schools don't. So we don't have one program for all of our schools, and that's sort of the beauty of our schools.
The policy does allow, so it does both. So one is it provides very, I think, strict guidelines about when we expect kids to use it or not use it. And as far as the phone zone, it does allow for a phone zone for parents that want to connect. As far as where the phone zone is, yes, the principal will decide where that phone zone is, and it'll be clearly marked and all those things. But so it does provide some flexibility. At one school, the phone zone may be in this corner, and another phone zone will be in another area. But it is, I think, it gives flexibility, but it's also it gives pretty firm guidelines.
It could be like an airport where when you first enter, there's an area you can still use, and then you have to leave it behind once you enter further into the campus, if that's kind of an early morning drop-off kind of concern. I think what we're trying to do, though, I think we're all saying is we want consistency so that the board is the one setting the policy, and it's not all on teachers, that they can have us backing them up. That if you want to blame us, that's okay. We will take it, because we want to be able to enforce this and have consistency for what we believe is best for our kids to have the best results and the best school climate.
And it gives clarity to the superintendent that we are all in one voice for him to go out and do his job.
Yeah. I want to make some suggestions for the next steps around kind of rolling this out, just some thoughts. I think that this really aligns with obviously our PBIS team and the way that we introduce this to our students, and thinking about engaging our young people in student council, ASB, in kind of a rollout of what the campaign looks like on campus. And that's where that tailored, unique characteristic of each school might come into play, where the students design what does it look like to teach our peers what it means to follow these rules and to set expectations around phone use. I think there's a lot of possibility for each school to be unique in the way that they create that. And then I think even the consequences, like we haven't really gone into the details of what happens, first offense, second offense, but I think I do want to see some consistency of guidance, at least, that's given to our principals. Again, I'm okay with a little bit of uniqueness. I think that we have to think about child development at each level. A first grader who's talking to mom is very different than a junior higher who's posting on social media, and the uses and the intention behind the use of phones. So there is some thought that will go into child development and appropriate responses. But I think having some clarity from, and I think it's more on staff to decide exactly what that looks like. But just to offer that, again, support to our principals and work with them to best understand what those consequences might look like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have we
really
absolutely made you insane with all of our suggestions?
No, I think we're good. I got highlights, I got edits. We'll bring back your second reading in July.
Awesome.
And we'll be
Jerry,
done.
I also I wonder if you know, we do the digital wellness survey with our students, and I was thinking about if we were to build in some kind of assessment along the way of, you know, 2 weeks in, 2 months in, 6 months in, is this working? What are we learning? Do we need to adjust? I mean, we want to get this right, and we want feedback from our schools and our sites. It'd be also, I think, really helpful to have feedback from our students in that when we do those, if we created a couple of questions around their digital wellness, am I less stressed because I'm not worried about my mom texting me or what other kids are saying on social media while I'm at school? Does that reduce the anxiety that our kids are experiencing? Are they less fearful? Is it addressing some of the school climate kind of concerns they might have for bullying and fights? It would be amazing if we could see the evidence of this intervention. I'd love us to build in some opportunities to learn from this experience.
Sounds good.
Great.
Anything else? Any other comments? Yeah, love it.
Great. All right, thank you.
Love how robust this is.
Do we know that LA
awesome.
Unified also just voted on this? Yeah. But they're behind us. They're not introducing it till January 25.
Or 26.
Awesome. All right, yeah, with that, any future
Yeah, I'd
request?
like to make a request, but for beginning of next term, but it's not for us, it's more for, I saw this young man sitting out here from the Scouts, and I know that the Scouts have a merit badge on going to see civil democracy in work, in progress. I'd like to communicate to all of our Scout troops that we are willing to have them come to we would encourage them, we would love it, for them to come to our meetings to get that merit badge. And second of all, for them to know that we are accepting of if they'd like to do Eagle Scout projects at our schools, so that as leadership changes over time, that the new leaders know that these opportunities are available for Scouts.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Future items?
Do you want a second for that? Is that a suggestion or a motion?
Go ahead.
I'll second.
Yeah, second.
I like that.
Third?
Third, yeah. Bev, anything? Just checking in.
Oh, I'm here.
Perfect.
I have nothing.
All right, awesome. Well, with that, meeting's adjourned. Can't even see because of the mic, but 8:29.
Yay, good job.